Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone. Under the soft glow of candlelight in an ancient scriptorium, the steady scratch of quills on parchment preserved words that would echo across millennia. Among these words, in the mysterious folds of the Old Testament, is the story of a tribe unlike any other in the biblical narrative, the Tribe of Levi. Revered and controversial, cloaked in divine appointment yet entangled in acts of human rebellion, their legacy is one of both sanctity and scandal. They were not warriors in the conventional sense, yet they wielded authority over kings. They owned no land, yet they held more influence than the wealthiest of Israelite clans. The Levites, as the Bible paints them, were chosen for a task so holy it bordered on peril, yet their history is far more complex than the simplified image passed down in Sunday school stories. To read the ancient scriptures with modern eyes is to realize that the tribe of Levi's role in history and prophecy was far more pivotal and far more unsettling than most have been taught. The story begins long before the Levites received their unique charge as Israel's priestly order. Levi himself was one of the 12 sons of Jacob, also called Israel, and his early life in Genesis offers a hint at the temperament his descendants would inherit. Levi and his brother Simeon infamously massacred the men of Shechem in retaliation for the defilement of their sister Dinah. This act of calculated vengeance, though born from a desire for justice, brought upon them a curse from their father Jacob, who declared that their anger was fierce and their wrath cruel. He prophesied that Levi's descendants would be scattered in Israel, a statement that at first seemed like a curse but would later become the foundation for the tribe's peculiar destiny. When Israel was enslaved in Egypt, the Levites were among those who endured the bitterness of bondage. Yet the book of Exodus reveals that this tribe had a special relationship with Moses, himself a Levite from the family of Kohath. His brother Aaron, also of the tribe of Levi, will become the first high priest of Israel, establishing the Aaronic line that would serve in the tabernacle and, later, the temple. This priesthood was not an honorary position. It came with strict laws, ceremonial duties, and severe consequences for failure. In the wilderness, when the Israelites sinned by worshiping the golden calf, it was the Levites who rallied to Moses' side, sword in hand, executing judgment on their own brethren to purge the camp of idolatry. It was this act of uncompromising loyalty to God that, according to Exodus 32, sealed their consecration to priestly service. From that moment, the Levites were set apart. Unlike the other tribes, they would receive no territory when Canaan was divided among the Israelites. Instead, they were given cities dispersed throughout the land and sustained by the tithes and offerings of the people. Their role was not merely ritualistic. They were the custodians of the law, teachers of the commandments, guardians of sacred objects, and mediators between God and his people. The Ark of the Covenant, the altar of incense, the lampstand, all the instruments of worship were under their care. To mishandle these duties was to invite divine wrath, as the tragic death of Uzzah later demonstrated when he touched the ark without authorization. Yet their history was not without blemish. The very tribe entrusted with holiness often fell into the same traps of corruption and greed that plagued the rest of Israel. The sons of Eli, Hophni, and Phinehas were priests who exploited their position, taking the choicest portions of sacrifices for themselves and engaging in scandalous behavior at the entrance to the tent of meeting. This corruption brought about the judgment of God, and the priesthood's stability was shaken. The prophet Ezekiel, centuries later, would rebuke certain Levites for leading Israel astray into idolatry, declaring that only the sons of Zadok, a faithful Levitical line, will be allowed to approach the altar in the restored temple. The Bible also hints at a deeper, more mysterious role for the Levites that extends beyond the borders of ancient Israel. In the prophecies of Malachi, the Lord speaks of purifying the sons of Levi so that they may offer righteous sacrifices once more. This suggests that their mission is not merely historical, but eschatological, linked to events yet to come. The book of Revelation, in its symbolic listing of the tribes, does not exclude Levi, a notable fact given that other tribes are omitted.
This inclusion has fueled centuries of speculation about the Levites' role in the final fulfillment of prophecy, with some traditions holding that a purified priesthood will be necessary in the Messianic age. Historically, the Levites also served as the nation's educators and judges. In Deuteronomy, Moses commands that they teach the law diligently, making them the intellectual and moral backbone of Israelite society. Their dispersion among the tribes was not simply a logistical arrangement. It was a deliberate design to ensure that every region of Israel had access to Levitical instruction and arbitration. The cities of refuge, administered by the Levites, provided sanctuary for those accused of manslaughter, blending mercy with justice in a way that prefigured later legal systems. Archaeological discoveries and ancient texts outside the Bible shed further light on their unique position. The Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, contain sectarian writings that emphasize priestly purity and sometimes criticize the mainstream Jerusalem priesthood, hinting at rival Levitical factions during the Second Temple period. Josephus, the first-century Jewish historian, records the Levites' central role in temple rituals and the meticulous regulations they followed. Even in exile, whether in Babylon or under Roman rule, the Levites maintained their identity, often serving as scribes and scholars who preserved Jewish law and tradition. But perhaps the most shocking aspect of the Levite legacy lies in the tension between their divine appointment and human fallibility. They were chosen to stand between God and man, yet they were as prone to sin and political manipulation as any other group. In the Maccabean period, priestly offices could be bought and sold, a desecration of the sacred trust originally given to Levi's sons. The New Testament, while acknowledging the historical priesthood, introduces a radical shift, the priesthood of all believers, embodied in Christ as the ultimate high priest, after the order of Melchizedek, a designation that both fulfills and transcends the Levitical system. This shift was not a dismissal of Levi's calling, but rather a transformation of it. In Acts, many priests are recorded as coming to faith, suggesting that Levites themselves recognized the prophetic fulfillment in Jesus' ministry. The Epistle to the Hebrews spends considerable time explaining how the Levitical priesthood pointed forward to something greater, a perfect mediation that would not require daily sacrifices. Yet Jewish tradition continues to preserve the genealogies of Levites, and even today, many Jewish communities can identify families with Levitical heritage, often signaled by the surname Levi, Levine, Levi, or Cohen, the latter specifically denoting descendants of Aaron. In modern Israel, Levites still hold a special place in synagogue rituals, called up second to the Torah after the Kohanim. Their priestly blessings and certain ceremonial roles remain a living link to the ancient order established in the wilderness. DNA research has even attempted to trace common genetic markers among these families, suggesting a remarkable continuity over more than 3,000 years. The Bible's portrayal of the tribe of Levi is thus one of paradox and power. They were scattered, yet they unified the nation spiritually. They were landless, yet they commanded respect across all of Israel. They were holy by calling, yet capable of grievous sin. To understand them is to understand not just an ancient tribe, but the very heart of Israel's covenant relationship with God, a relationship defined by law, sacrifice, teaching, and an ever-present tension between the ideal and the real. The modern reader may find it shocking that this tribe, often idealized as pure servants of God, was just as enmeshed in political intrigue, rebellion, and reform as any other group in history. But it is precisely this complexity that makes their story enduring. The Levites were not flawless icons. They were living, breathing examples of what it means to be called to a holy purpose in a fallen world. Their failures make their faithfulness all the more significant, and their ancient role continues to echo in religious practice and prophecy alike. In the end, the tribe of Levi's true significance may lie not only in their past, but in the mystery of their future. If the prophetic words of Malachi hold true, the sons of Levi will once again be purified for service, standing as mediators in a restored order. Whether one views this as a literal temple restoration or as a spiritual metaphor, the Levites remain a symbol of divine calling, costly, dangerous, and transformative. Their story reminds us that being chosen is not a privilege to be exploited, but a burden to be carried, one that demands unwavering dedication even when the world around you collapses into idolatry and compromise.